Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, it's the co-host, it's Padawan J.
We'll get to this in a minute, but it's a very good thing we weren't recording on Saturday night during the NBA All-Star festivities, because if we had, I would have been hot and probably gotten us kicked off of several providers, given how furious I was about the dunk contest.
Yo, we're going to deep dive into that, but we have to explain where our other host is, and that is your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Duffy allegedly went out to Chicago this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Rumor has it he was trying to find James Dolan's phone number to talk to him about putting in his resume for becoming next president, really kind of help guide the team.
Yeah,
he's
very knowledgeable. Of course, he is the coach.
Yes, I mean, we've heard some rumors that he was out partying with Common and Chance the Rapper.
Quavo might have been there, too.
Yeah, we heard Coach was making rounds, so hopefully we get him to chime in and give us a heads up of the weekend.
I think I heard rumor from Woj say that he challenged Quentin Richardson for a one-on-one contest.
There was something about it, too. I mean, Coach was tearing it up through Chicago this weekend, so hopefully we maybe get a blog or a tweet from him at Coach Duffy11 to kind of find out his whereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
But fear not, we all had a great weekend. I know Friday night, I definitely had one going out to see Second Suitor and Tom Jolu down at Rippick's Lanes with Jimmy and Tom from Floodlands. It was an awesome time partying with those guys. And a little breaking news, Tom Jolu is going to be coming on the ODPH later this year.
Cool.
As soon as he comes back from tour, we're going to hammer out the dates.
Sure.
Awesome time. You saw, if you're watching Instagram stories this weekend, I was posting a lot of video from the show, a lot of feedback. Shout out to Book of Lives. They were commenting. It was a great time out. And then going into Sunday, as we're going to be talking about a little later, was NXT Takeover. So we had our watch party. Jimmy came over for that as well. And Sunday was also a big day, too, because it was our sponsor Sunday on One Movie Punch. Shout out to Joseph. We had submitted our review to him to say, could you review The Dark Knight?
Great movie.
Great movie. Excellent. I know you're going, wait, why are you talking movies? It's a sports show. Follow me for a second. On Wednesday's edition of the ODPH, we're kind of having a little piggyback from that episode, because that episode is great. Joe really broke it down so well. It is one of my favorite One Movie Punch episodes, not because it's our sponsor show. It is just that good. And we have a little, do I say a sequel to it?
Yeah, kind of like a fan sequel. You know, fan fiction and fans writing sequels to franchises that have ended or haven't gone on in quite some time is nothing new. I mean, as long as the internet's been around, there have been sequels to Star Trek movies, Star Wars movies, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, you name it, there is a fan-written sequel to it.
Yes, so we're going to kind of piggyback off Joe's review from this past Sunday. So if you haven't downloaded that episode, it's the sponsor Sunday edition of One Movie Punch. It's The Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan's Batman story. Epic. I mean, I could just rave about it. And
that's the thing. You might be sitting here thinking to yourself, I don't really want to listen to it. I've seen Dark Knight 500 times. I know everything about it. Take it from me, somebody who's seen Star Wars, to quote Tracy Morgan, I see Star Wars 500 times. There's a great podcast called The Soundtrack Show with David W. Collins, who, look up his resume online. He's a very accomplished gentleman in the music and sound industry in terms of movies and video games. He recently, at the end of last year, broke down Return of the Jedi and the soundtrack and everything with that. I've seen Return of the Jedi, I can't tell you how many times. Thought I knew a lot of stuff. He was teaching me stuff I didn't know. So definitely, if you get a chance and you find a podcast talk about your favorite movie that you think you know everything about, give it a listen, because I'm willing to bet you'll learn something new.
And absolutely, this episode of One Movie Punch is one you definitely need to download ASAP. And especially it'll help you join in the conversation on Wednesday when we were kind of going a little bat crazy in a segment. Little teaser for you. But this episode is dedicated to the land of sports. You know how we do it here on the ODPH. You can join in the conversation on our social media accounts, OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Like our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter. Join in the conversation on Instagram. And always use the hashtag ODPH because we have a lot to discuss. Now, the biggest story of the weekend, Pad Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much encompasses the sports world what was going on, and that is the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
Now, usually we don't really preview this because it's a nice fanfare to the NBA fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only time we've ever really covered it is if we've looked at the three big competitions, points, three-point skills, and dunk contest, and look at the field and gone, holy crap, this is like stacked.
Yes. So we usually kind of give a quick preview, nothing really in detail, but where we're opening up the segment is this weekend's events really showcased what the NBA is all about.
Probably, I would say, the best they've done in a number of years.
Oh, by far and away.
Because usually the NBA All-Star Weekend, like, I'm not the biggest NBA guy. I can't sit here and break down plays and break down who's trying to do what or who should do what, like maybe Coach can. But I enjoy the hell out of NBA All-Star Weekend because it's simple, it's fun, it's laid back, it's a chance for the players to just have some fun. You know, you think back in the day when, Vince Carter dunked and Shaq standing there with a big-ass, video camera freaking the hell out. Like, it's a moment just to see stars in kind of their natural element. Like, oh, hey, we don't have to be the uptight, super serious guys we are on the court.
Yeah, so it's always a fun time to be a fan, and you have that interaction, and obviously seeing your great players team up for one night. And usually it's kind of a throwaway game. It's a nice
defense is optional.
Yeah,
until the last 10 minutes of the fourth quarter.
But this year was different, and let's kind of just do a quick recap of the weekend. So,
sure.
Pat, you got the events going on leading into the game.
Yeah. So the first event up, I guess you could say, is the 2020 All-Star Game. Where now the interesting thing with this was there was a little bit of an interesting twist to it. They've had celebrity coaches in the past. I think that one year who was it? It was Kevin Hart versus Drake.
Yeah, this is the celebrity game.
This is the celebrity game. This year was an interesting take and a very good take, I would say. You had Mike Wilbon, of course, from ESPN, pardon the interruption fame, take on Stephen A. Smith, who I don't need to do any introduction for him. You know who he is.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Wilbon got inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's a nominee to get inducted this year.
Congratulations to him. Yeah, so you had that going on where Common the Rapper was captain of Team Wilbon. You had artists such as Bad Bunny, Kane Brown, John Batiste. Then you had other folks like Famous Los, who's a comedian. You had Chelsea Gray from the WNBA, Quentin Richardson, the NBA legend, participating among others. On Stephen A's team, you had Chance the Rapper, of course, from Chicago. Born and raised, lives and really tries to help out Chicago. Quavo, Taylor Bennett. Leroyce Hawkins, who's an actor on Chicago PD, Anthony Spice Adams, Mark Lassery, who's a co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, Ronnie 2K, from marketing director from 2K Sports. He's the guy, if you go on Twitter and you play, My Team on NBA 2K online and you got an issue with some rating or something, yeah, he's the guy you go to. And among others, including Darius Miles, NBA legend. And Common ended up taking the MVP through fan voting. He scored 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals. Congratulations to him and everyone who there. I think got to be the two highlights of the game. One, Stephen A. getting technicaled.
Yeah,
that was absolutely hilarious because it sounded like they were mic'd up, but maybe the production booth had the mics turned down a little bit, and he was arguing with the ref about something. And the ref just goes, technical. And the announcers were talking about something else entirely, and they're like, oh, he's going to get teed. He's going to get teed. And he gets, sure enough, he gets technicaled. And Stephen A. just goes, what? For why? Yeah. What? Which was absolutely funny. And I'd say the other one had to be Anthony Spice Adams, I think is who it was like backing down and trying to do a post up, but maybe a la Kobe, in all honesty. Mm-hmm. And Quentin Richardson just came out of nowhere and swatted that thing about 8 rows deep in the seats and just shoved him out of like, get that out of here.
Yeah, it's always just a fun time. The celebrity game is just celebrities getting together, just having some fun. Mm-hmm. Everybody's in a very happy mood. It's always a joke game. And just to clarify something I said earlier, Michael Wilbon and Mike Breen were recipients of the 2020 Kurt Gowdy Media Award from the Naismith Basketball Association or Hall of Fame. So just want to clear that up and say congratulations to them.
Yeah.
So that being said, though, the celebrity game is just kind of like the tip of the iceberg. It kind of gets you in an idea of how the game's going to be because all the celebrities show up for the NBA weekend. It's a big media event.
Oh, yeah. It's usually a lot of fun. I remember the couple of years Terrell Owens played it. He would play half-court basketball in that he'd only play offense. Like, the ball's on the opposite end of the court. He's not down there. He's waiting on the other end for, like, somebody to just outlet the thing down there so he can score.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber balling it out, a couple of years ago when he was a little younger and a little shorter. So, it's fun moments like that just absolutely make it something to watch.
Yeah, so that was Friday night.
Yep, and then also you had Team World to take on Team USA. Now this is kind of to compare it to baseball because the NFL doesn't, and the NHL, I don't think, have anything like this. This is like the baseball. This is like the equivalent of the what is it? The
World Baseball Classic.
No, I'm blanking on the name of it, but the Major League Baseball does this where they have the Rising Stars thing where it's like, double A, triple A, single A guys who are like really on the up and up. Like Aaron Judge played there 1 year, Gary Sanchez played there 1 year. Like if you're a really high rated prospect, odds are you're going to play at this. This is, in the past, it's been rookies versus sophomores, and I think it's still rookies and sophomores primarily who play in this, but they've kind of morphed it into kind of more of a fun bragging rights kind of thing where it's team world. So players in the NBA who are born outside the United States taking on Team USA or players who were born in the United States. And Team USA ended up taking the victory, and this is why I say don't take these games. Defense is optional. USA won 151 to 131.
Yeah, it's one thing with All-Star Weekend. Nobody really plays defense, albeit though when we get into the actual game, a little change of that this year from the actual game. But for the international game, and like I say, it's really cool to kind of see how basketball has spread to become this worldwide phenomenon. And you see just the influence of the international players are bringing their style to the game.
Yeah.
And it's just such a very cool clash of styles.
Yeah.
That you can definitely see in games like this. And,
and
like Pat touched upon, defense is optional for this. Yeah. This is a fan fest.
Oh, yeah. Like, essentially, at one point, this Rising Stars game just turned into a glorified dunk contest.
Right.
Where you had, Trae Young was on one end trying to throw down jams. And also you had Zion Williamson trying to throw like 360 windmills that would have been 50s in the dunk contest if they went down. But got to give a Knicks shout out. RJ Barrett, leading scorer on Team World, 27 points. So shout out to him. But this is the other fun thing with this game is you have players on this team that might not get to play otherwise. Yep. And you got matchups that you might not get to see otherwise. Like RJ Barrett played on the floor, was a starter with Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. Like, that's a fun matchup. That's something I'd love to see, in the actual NBA someday. Might not happen, but hey, you never know. Over on the USA side, looks like Trae Young was the leading scorer, 18 points. Zion Williamson, 14 points. Wasn't quite sure for a while if he was going to be able to play in this game given how long out he was.
Yeah, I was actually surprised he made it out to it. I'm not mad about it.
No, and if I'm not mistaken, if I heard during the game or I heard a highlight correctly, this is the first time this season he's played a back-to-back.
Yeah. So
there's some kind of question given his injury and how they've been treating his injury and treating his rest and being very careful with it. There was kind of some questions with, all right, how is he going to handle this?
Yeah, I was actually surprised the Pelicans let him do it.
Yeah.
I didn't think they would. I think that he's missed enough time already with a very serious injury that to let him go back-to-back for an exhibition game, maybe not what I would allow him to do per se, but I know he wants to do something for the fans that have stuck by him through everything. So no issue that. And you're touching on Trae Young. His jump shot has gotten so much better for a pro level. Like I'll be very honest, I never thought he'd have that kind of stroke to it.
And I gotta say, Luka's bank shot from half court. Oh, stop. Good Lord.
Ridiculous.
Good Lord. No, so that game was a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, you had kind of the big night, the the Christmas Eve almost to the big night. That was the Skills Challenge. First up in the Taco Bell Skills Challenge, which essentially what this is you've got a group of players who go around. They got to basically show off your skills and
show off the fundamentals.
Show off the fundamentals, dribbling, passing, everything. And you got to do it the fastest. And this was taken by Bam Adebayo, apologies if I butchered that, from the Miami Heat. He won that. Over in the three-point contest, which, Lord, this was probably the best three-point contest they've ever had.
In recent memory,
yeah. You had Devin Booker, I believe.
From Phoenix.
Was in first place going into the final round. Had 26 points. Buddy Hield from the Sacramento Kings came in there and beat him by 1 point at the buzzer.
Yeah, late minute dramatic finish.
Like, look up the highlight on YouTube. It's and just kind of there's a 7-minute video from House of Highlights, I think it's what it's called. Jump towards maybe the middle part or 3/4 of the way through just to catch Buddy Hield's, because that's all you really need to see is just how he comes back. Like, all right, you need 26 points to beat him, and he's on his final ball with 25 points, and in his money rack or the rack of basketballs where all his points are 2 points. Mm-hmm. He needs the final ball to sink it and beat him, and he nails it right at the buzzer.
Yeah, it's always a cool photo finish when that happens, and especially to give it back to the fans. And I can't reiterate that enough this weekend, because this was such a big fan event. If you were on social media and an NBA fan, this was dominating your Twitter, dominating your Facebook.
Yeah.
And especially it dominates to the next category, because this is where Pad, we are lucky he did not have a live cam on him, because we would have got kicked off providers. We would
Egregious.
There would have been an ODPH special behind the Patreon wall with Love is Scary from the Three Fat Nerds. It was how adamant Pad got. So we'll say the views, opinions, and thoughts of Padawan J concerning the next segment are representative of Padawan J alone and do not represent the ODPH in any way, shape, or manner. Listener discretion is advised.
So the next contest and the final contest of the night was the AT&T Slam Dunk Contest, which if this is like one event you want to watch for the NBA All-Star Weekend, this is it. This is, the pageantry, from, jumping at the free throw line and dunking from there to, Dwight Howard doing the Superman through Blake Griffin jumping over the hood of a car. This is the stuff where, they pull out all the stops. It's something to really watch. Like, I remember a couple years ago, I think it was 2016, where Zach LaVine ended up winning. But that final round between him and Aaron Gordon was easily, the best dunk contest I've ever seen.
The dunk competition has taken on new life over the years. Obviously, if you were around in the late 80s, early 90s when Michael Jordan's popularity was taking off and him and Dominique Williams were having face-offs, that's where it really kind of sparked. And it can definitely set a career on fire and really propel you into superstardom. Take a look at Vince Carter. It can take somebody that is not a household name, Harold Miner.
It's like Kobe Bryant in 97.
Yeah, and really drive it to where all eyes are on you for being a spectacle and what you can do with it. Now, granted, the dunk competition over the years has evolved.
Let's say we don't talk about 2014. 2014 didn't happen. It's egregious.
Yeah, we're not going to dig into that. But anytime a car is involved, and
2014 was the year. So this is my one issue with the dunk contest. Leave it how it is. You've got the rounds, the highest, bracketing, the highest however many scores move on to the next round, timer, they got to make it in that amount of time. Don't change it up. 2014 was the year they made it East versus West.
Yeah.
So if you go to NBA.com and you go to their page about the dunk contest and their little article about it, they list all the winners from the top first dunk contest all the way up through last year. And it says 2014 East, Paul George, Terrence Ross, John Wall. Yeah. I remember watching that dunk contest. That dunk contest was bad.
Yeah, it was absolutely awful. I just always think it was crazy of how they were setting it up for Blake Griffin to jump over the car sponsorship.
Yeah.
That they wheeled it out. And like I say, the dunk competition for me is always how you can be creative with what you have on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, there was the one year, who was it, Gerald Green of the Boston Celtics put a cupcake, yes, I'm talking the pastry, a cupcake, on the back portion of the rim, so the big, flat area on the rim, put a candle in it, lit said candle, and then went up, dunked it, and blew the candle out simultaneously.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
Also in that same year, Dwight Howard went up and slapped a sticker on the billboard, on the backboard, that if I remember right was borderline 8 feet up. Or something absurd. It was some absurd height.
It was an absurd height, but it just goes to show that the dunk competition has evolved and gone in some very unique, to politely, directions. Like I say, the fact of Griffith jumping over the car sticks out to me okay.
The fact Nate Robinson is a 3-time champion?
Yeah, it just goes to show anybody can win it on any given night. And this one, though, had a little controversy behind it.
Well, and it was very highly anticipated because you had Pat Connaughton from the Milwaukee Bucks, Aaron Gordon from the Orlando Magic, Dwight Howard from the Lakers, and then Derek Jones Jr. from Miami taking part in it. Dwight Howard, until Kobe passed away, there was talks that he might have gotten Kobe involved in some way, so unfortunate for that. But Aaron Gordon being in the dunk contest again, because if I remember correctly, what was it? 2016 he was in it, and then 2017 he wasn't able to be in it because I want to say he was injured.
Yeah,
he was injured that year, and then 2018 I don't think he did it at all. So to have Aaron Gordon be back in this, and I implore you, go to YouTube, look up 2016 NBA dunk contest highlights, and just watch that final round between him and Zach LaVine, where you have the likes of Charles Barkley and Kenny the Jet Smith sitting, and Shaq and others saying, just give them both a trophy. Like, they were nailing 50-point scores, which is the highest point total you can get in the dunk contest. left and right. Like they were going back and forth. Like they were dunking so much they were running out of ideas and having to come up with stuff on the spot. You know, so this year there was a lot of anticipation, you know, with what's going on, and you get to the biggest point of the night, and Aaron Gordon, I think at one point had nailed like 5 50-point dunks or something.
Yeah,
like
he had a streak going.
He had this locked up, signed, sealed, and delivered. And he brought out Taco Fall from the Boston Celtics, who's like 7'5", 7'6", if I'm not mistaken.
He's 7'5", if I'm not mistaken.
7'5". So when Shaq looks up to stands next to him, he has to look up to Shaq, which tells you a lot. You know, same height as Yao Ming, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You know, so he dunks over Taco Fall, and everyone's like, "That's it, that's a wrap." But they only gave him a 47, and everyone's like, "Wait, what?" And then, you know, what was it? Derek Jones Jr. of Miami comes in and, you know, pulls it out and ends up winning egregiously.
Yeah, that was an awful way to take it from Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, because Aaron Gordon should have won it in 2016 when he went up against Zach LaVine in the finals. Like, no disrespect to Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine was very great in that dunk contest, but Aaron Gordon jumped over the Magic mascot while he was on one of those, I forget what they're called now, those things you ride on and you lean forward and backwards.
Oh,
not segways,
yeah.
But kind of like a segway. I forget what they're called. Not hoverboard, whatever they're called. You know, and the mascot was going in circles, and he sat in midair, grabbed the ball from underneath him, and dunked it.
Yeah, pretty sure it's a Segway.
You know, no, Segway is something else entirely different.
Okay.
But he lost it that year. He was robbed that year. He was robbed this year. The world record, I saw this, was retweeted by a person named Katie Sharp, who does a Yankee fan. Highly recommend following her. She tweets a lot of great stats for Yankee players during the season. She retweeted somebody who said the world record for high jump is 7 foot 11.6 inches. Taco Fall is 7'5", so Aaron Gordon cleared 7'5", and he almost broke. If there was a Guinness or some sort of record holder person to be there and judge it, he could have probably easily broken the world record for high jump.
Yeah.
If you do that and you don't win, like, what the hell?
Yeah, I didn't understand that whole judging system. It should have been Aaron Gordon all the way.
Yeah.
I understand if you want to try giving a little drama to the event, but at the same time, it's a fan service event. Mm-hmm. This isn't a real, per se, competition. But it is, because there's a trophy given at the end, and you're crowned a champion.
Well, and this is kind of my one issue with it, is years ago, you know, a couple of years ago, within the last decade, I remember, especially when later 2000s, was the fan vote, where, you had the judges vote, and that determined who made it made it onto the competition. But once you got to the final round, you had to send a text message of A or B or whatever it was to a number to vote for who you thought won.
Right.
They need to bring that back, because unless you're a Miami fan, I think universally and globally people were saying Aaron Gordon should have won.
Well, they should have just crowned him co-champion.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And like I say, I don't know why.
See, you can't tell me, they can't give the trophy to more than one person. They gave it to 3 people in 2014.
Exactly. There are ways to do this. So whatever they got against Aaron Gordon, I don't get.
Well, and that's a shame, because after this was over, Aaron Gordon said, I've done this twice and I've gotten robbed twice. He's like, I'm done doing this.
Yeah, he has an
which
absolute right
is a shame.
Yeah, he has a right to complain about it. I have no issue with it.
No, yeah.
It would have to be something like maybe make him the judge, or I don't know. Like, I don't know what.
I like the idea somebody put out of having past champions be judges, because no disrespect to Chadwick Boseman, but Chadwick Boseman, of course, played Black Panther in the Marvel movies, was one of the judges. What do you know about dunking?
Yeah.
Like, have dunk champions be in there, because, hey, who knows dunks better than these guys? The other thing I think they should do is make the scores cumulative. So, like, okay, after however many dunks, top whatever scores move on. And then have those point totals carry over, so that when you get to the end, hey, here's your champion.
Yeah, they should do something with that. They have to fix that judging, because it just the fact he got robbed in the way that he did. Gordon's not going to come out there, and if there's somebody else that feels the same way, it's going to be tough to get players to do that, because a lot of times this is just meant to be a good party weekend and celebrate the NBA and the halfway point of the season. So to see it get stopped like this and just really kind of put a damper on festivities because everybody was so adamant on social media about how Gordon got robbed, and I fully agree.
Yeah.
So whatever they want to do moving forward with it, they need to make some changes. But then we get to Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday was the first game, obviously, since Kobe Bryant unfortunately passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely influenced the game, with his energy, and he was always an all-star staple when he played. So this was
14 times. I forget how many times All-Star you went to the All-Star game. It was a lot.
Yeah, so obviously the NBA really wanted to make sure that Kobe was paid respect to in this. There was the very cool video with Dr. Dre producing.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Two California icons.
Yes, absolutely. So we get to the big festivities, and usually, like we say, defense is optional in this game. But this year had a little different feel to it. So
for years and years and years, the NBA All-Star Game was much like any other All-Star Game or Pro Bowl. One conference versus the other conference and fan voting, and you take each other on. But that was getting kind of bland. So a couple of years ago, they changed it up and they made it, almost like a kind of popularity contest. But let's be honest, it was a popularity contest before, where you had the two highest vote getters in the All-Star Game voting would be team captains, and then they would go and draft their own teams. Mm-hmm. So adding a little bit of fun, a little bit, again, much like Team World versus Team USA, matchups you might not normally see or team-ups you might not normally see, because let's be honest, I can't ever see LeBron James teaming up with a starting five of him, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, James Harden, or Luka Doncic.
Yeah,
unless you're playing 2K with like a bunch of settings turned off.
Yeah, it's absolutely mind-blowing that you can see this lineup in person.
Yep. And then they even got some interesting rules this year because in years past and up until this year, it was always the standard basketball game, 4 quarters, play to whoever wins. So the way the rules worked this year was Team Giannis and Team LeBron would compete to win each of the first 3 quarters of the game. Those quarters would be the standard 12 minutes, but would start with a 0-0 score. At the beginning of the 4th quarter, the game clock would be turned off, and a final target score would be set based on the team's leading cumulative score through the first 3 quarters. That target score would be the leading team's total score plus 24 points. Once the target score is finalized, Team Giannis and Team LeBron will play the untimed 4th quarter, and the first team to reach the target will win the game. So something a little interesting, something fun. It ultimately turns into a game of street ball. If you really think about it, like I think at one point Russell Westbrook lobbed up a pass to Chris Paul, and Chris Paul just dunked it, which I think, if I read the stat right during the game, that was Chris Paul's second career lob dunk.
Chris Paul is having such an underrated season in Oklahoma City. It's not even funny. And the fact they're going to be contending in the playoffs, especially after how they've been gutted.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll say 23 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds for the game. So, for All-Star games, that's pretty good. But Team LeBron ended up taking the win by the final score of 157-155. Lord, that's a lot of points. Looking at it, LeBron James, 23 points. Kawhi Leonard, who took home MVP, 30 points. Anthony Davis, 20 points. James Harden had 11. Luka Doncic had 8. There we go. Chris Paul, like I mentioned, had 23. Over on Team Giannis, Giannis had 25 points. Paul Siakam of the Toronto Raptors had 15 points. Joel Embiid of the 76ers had 22 points. Kemba Walker of the Boston Celtics had 23 points. And then Trae Young had 10 points.
Absolutely phenomenal second half of the game, I would say. This was the first time you really saw the teams playing defense in that 3rd quarter, or in that 4th quarter, really. They really kind of started turning on the 3rd, but the 4th is really the defining moment. And this is where you can say they really paid the tribute to Kobe.
Yeah.
You saw the quote-unquote Mamba mentality come out, that this was a very, very competitive game, and nobody wanted to lose this one.
No.
And this is where they really stepped up as in the NBA players to pay tribute, because obviously the events of what happened are still weighing heavy on the players in the league. Kobe's influence was felt throughout this game. In fact, they named the All-Star MVP trophy after in memorial.
Yeah.
So this was something that the players really stepped up and really wanted to showcase for. And coming right down to Anthony Davis making those free throw shots to seal the deal. This is why you really care about the game, because there's so much emotion involved, and the players really demonstrated that. And with Kawhi winning that trophy too, it was just of how much Kobe has influenced his game. And you have to say, who's going to be the next one with that Mamba mentality?
Boy, I don't know. There's a lot of guys who, say they want that Mamba mentality. say they follow that, they're a part of it, but, let's see what you got.
I think the closest one you got to say is Kawhi.
Yeah?
The closest one right now, and I think he really took this role in the spotlight to step it up in the All-Star game for that. And going forward with it, I think that he's going to be somebody that maybe makes that next step into the face of the league.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen because, LeBron is there right now.
Yeah.
And you can't say otherwise, really.
Oh, yeah.
You can make some arguments for other people, but, LeBron has got a few more years left, and just Father Time is going to catch up with him. He's got a lot of tread on the tires.
Yeah, so the other shout-out we got to give is to Miles Bridges, who's a forward for the Charlotte Hornets. Won MVP in the Rising Stars basketball game this weekend. During halftime, I'm showing Ken, tweeted this, all right, bet, with the meme of a person playing video games leaning back and then leaning forward as if to get more serious and like, all right, it's game time. Tweeted that at halftime, came out of the half, balled out, and won MVP.
It just goes to show about how players can turn it on when it matters most, and obviously they want to give back to the fans. Because going into these games, it's a star-studded event, and I can't stress it enough. It's supposed to be a celebration of the season, and they did it right this year. This was the first time in recent memory that I want to say the All-Star game mattered.
Yeah.
Because usually it's just a fun exhibition. Players are messing around. I remember one year Steph Curry did not want to get posterized, so he laid down on the floor.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Giannis was coming on a fast break by himself. Curry, look up the highlight. Curry ducks Giannis or something to that effect on YouTube. Curry is the only person back on defense with Giannis coming with a full head of steam, and Curry full-fledged just lays on his stomach covering his head.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable to see of just those moments. And you have to sit there and go, this is why you like the NBA, and the All-Star game you can just kind of take a step back and just really enjoy it for what it is. But this year, like I said, the whole weekend had a different feel, and obviously Kobe's influence was lasting on the players that were playing the game, and they really wanted to make sure they paid tribute properly. Because Kobe was always serious when he played the game. And he always went out there to win. That's why we say Mamba mentality is, remaining in the league. And I know players are saying I'm going to continue that. Kawhi really stepped it up. Like I said, he really kind of jumped out for me from everybody else this weekend.
Yeah.
And really had the influence of Kobe on him. They really demonstrated that.
I'll say, like you said, LeBron's got that, but he already had that before Kobe passed away.
Yeah.
He's always had that. It hasn't always been the most accurate, Mamba mentality. He also hasn't always been that clutch. He's had his moments. But it's going to be interesting with this class of players that's in there now that have that killer instinct, but really haven't brought it out or fully fledged it, to see, all right, who really is going to step up and have that ice cold-blooded mentality.
Well, it goes to show just the influence, and somebody's got to step up and do that, and just how the game still always has somebody in there that shows that competitive side to him. That is just on a different level. You saw it with Kawhi in the playoffs last year. He single-handedly brought Toronto.
Yeah.
Look what he willed out of them, and he got the most out of the team.
Yeah.
And that team still is doing well.
Oh, yeah.
This year, so let's not say they're falling apart without him.
Oh God, no! They just won 14 in a row, 15 in a row.
But it goes to show that if you're around a player that can influence you on that level, and influence and make the players around him better, the sky is the limit. That is why when Kawhi left and went to the Clippers, everybody felt the shift of the power in the NBA, so to speak, because they knew what he was going to bring to the table, and obviously he's taken his game to a different level.
Yeah.
And where they go from this, the remainder of the season, it's going to be a fun basketball season to watch. I got a feeling. Because you're talking about the West is going to be absolutely competitive as all blazes.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, you can't sleep on Oklahoma City right now.
No, that's the thing is as good as the Lakers are playing and as much as they're getting talked about, they have a 41-12 record, first in the Western Conference. Denver's right there. They're only 4 games out of first place.
Yeah.
38-17.
Yeah, and it just goes to show there's going to be so much parity. It's going to go back and forth. It's going to be absolutely crazy. And it just goes to show, you have something to look forward to with basketball.
And again, with
the NBA.
Yeah, and especially the Eastern Conference, again, it's wide open.
Except for the Knicks.
Well, yes, the Knicks. But Knicks don't have the worst record in the Eastern Conference.
Yes, we're improving.
Small victories.
I think it's Coach Duffy mingling at the parties. Like I said, he's going to be networking his influence. Who knows? Maybe Coach is going to come back and announce that he was going to be joining the Knicks organization moving forward.
Well, maybe.
I don't know. He was saying he was out in Chicago and trying to get into all the parties. So he was
Knicks not last in the East, not last in the NBA.
We'll take it as a win, as the fans should for this past weekend of All-Star action. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What was your thoughts about the NBA All-Star Weekend? Did you like it? Did you hate it? And why? Let's have that conversation. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Elijah, are you ready to bring on the weird?
Yes, Will I am. Are you ready to bring on the weird?
Did you just make a Will I Am joke?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. I'll allow it. Anyway, we're just a couple of harmless guys digging into weird things we don't know much about.
We're just trying to figure out what the hell is happening in the world outside our homes.
Do we get things wrong?
Without a doubt.
Are we learning from those mistakes?
Not anytime soon.
Are you entertained by the crap we're talking about?
Of course. That's why I always listen to the show.
You listen? All right, what do you like to listen to about the show?
I like aliens, conspiracies, cryptids, NWO, shadow government, you name it.
But, hold on. Do the aliens come from inside the Earth instead of interstellar travel? What made the conspiracy start? Why did that cryptid evolve to do the things it does? Who runs this NWO?
Listen in as we dive into all manners of subjects as we bring on the weird.
You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. You can listen to clips of our episodes on our YouTube channel.
Listen, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser.com. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Hi, this is Jimmy Gazdick from Crimson Brethren and Floodlands, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH podcast. And we got to talk some UFC action.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a fight night card this past week on ESPN+.
Yeah, although admittedly you might have looked at the Wikipedia page because, finding the card for UFC is usually easier on Wikipedia than it is on the UFC's own website.
Yeah, we've had better luck doing that. So,
yep.
But this card did have one fight in particular that had some very big implications.
Yeah.
But we're going to give a quick rundown of the card. This was UFC Fight Night 167.
Ooh.
Pad, you got the breakdown.
Yep, so it was taking place from Rio Rancho, New Mexico, which I got a little bit of a bone to pick with the folks in charge of media, social media and videos and such, be it UFC or ESPN. I realized you were calling it UFC Rio because it's in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, but I got really confused and thought it was in Rio, Brazil. So just kind of be a little more aware of that. But no, yeah, the card took place. Probably the first fight that kind of jumped out to me and had a lot of people talking was the lightweight matchup between Brock Weaver and Kazula Vargas, which was a DQ by illegal knee.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good look.
No, definitely not a good look, and this was kind of a haunting thing for the night.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, anytime you have an opponent that is down and you hit him with an illegal knee, it can be a disqualification depending on what happens.
Well, you get the knee throw him, you get stop, and then all the fans are going, wait, have they adopted the new rules yet?
Yeah, because that's something that some states still have not done yet.
After 5+ years.
Yeah, it's still, everybody's taking their time adapting to them. So this one obviously was a very big black eye on the card, so to speak, because this definitely kind of set the tone for the fights. Every time there's like a disqualification like that,
yeah,
it usually takes a while for the fights to get back on track.
Yep.
And obviously there was a women's flyweight match that happened after with Montana De La Rosa getting the decision over Mara Borella.
Mm-hmm.
And then the co-main event was the one and only Diego Sanchez.
Yep.
Mr. Daniel Bryant, yes, taking on Michael Pereira, who has been known for his flashy entrances and dancing in the fights in the ring, like high energy.
I'll say I think one Michael Bisping took exception to this.
Yeah, he did in the post fight.
Look up the video.
There's a good little back and forth with him and Chiesa.
Yeah, Michael Chiesa.
Michael Chiesa talking about this. Well, this one though was pretty one-sided in my opinion. Pereira is a guy that's on the rise and was dominating the fight pretty much from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Diego is a small welterweight in my opinion. He's not exactly the Diego of old, the one that was running roughshod in the lightweight division. And Diego has fought this weight class before, so it's not like he decided to take a jump.
Right.
But he's also on the back end of his career. I mean, he has a lot of tread on his tires. 52 fights will do that to you.
Yeah.
And he does not exactly do one-rounders. He gets into wars. Mm-hmm. Take a look at the fight with Clay Guida, which is still the craziest first round I have ever seen in the UFC.
Well, so like you said, 52 professional fights, and his first one was on June 21st of 2002.
Yeah. I mean, from The Ultimate Fighter Season 1,
Yeah.
where he was a standout fighter there, his career has gone a long ways. And like I say, there is a rule of thumb that when you fight Diego, you don't come out of it the same. That you're changed because he does that much damage. He is just a different type of fighter. So that being said, Pereira was dominating this fight, and then he had him up against the cage, and Diego was dropping to one knee, and Pereira caught him in the face with a knee.
Yep.
Stopped the fight. Diego could not see out of that, and he definitely was disoriented because they did have the camera on him when he was talking with the doctors, and he said, I can't see. And they had to stop the fight. Diego got the win via disqualification. So, yet again, we had a disqualification on the card.
If I saw on Twitter correctly, the first time in UFC history you've had 2 illegal knee disqualifications on the same card.
Correct. And it was almost back-to-back. So the crowd was very livid, and I understand why.
Yeah.
This is something, as a professional fighter, you have to be careful throwing. And Pereira, I know, was saying it wasn't illegal. And
Well, yeah, and it's something that, like, you're a professional fighter, you should know not to do it. It's almost like when I go to the hockey game with my family, and my mom sits there, and a team might get a too many men on the ice penalty. She goes, how do you do this? You're professionals. You should know better.
yeah, it's just something that you have to be careful, especially when an opponent is down in the kneed position, where they're on one knee, is what I'm trying to refer to. Because you can get caught with it. I know in years past, before they've made changes to the rule about a downed opponent, it has cost fighters fights.
Yeah.
This was no exception because this was a straight shot. I mean, was it intentional? No, but he did throw it and he was down. So it's one of those heat of the moment things, however you want to define it. Anyway, Diego got the win. So there's a very big asterisk by this, in my opinion. Nothing against Diego. Diego is a wild man.
Yeah.
And where he goes from here, I don't know. Pereira, I don't see this really hurting his standing too much, but he has to come back and really make a statement in his next fight, which he has the skills to do. I mean, he was definitely being very flashy in this fight. He did try a Showtime kick, which, I mean, I always applaud being a Pettis fan. So I don't think it's going to hurt either fighter moving forward.
I don't think anybody's tried that since he pulled that off.
One fighter did. It escapes me who.
Okay.
But Pereira almost hit it, though.
Oh, wow.
That was the thing.
Wow.
Like he was throwing a lot of different looks, and like I say, was being very energetic in the cage. Diego came out and tried doing a barrel roll.
Well, so yeah, it's
him.
funny. We haven't seen that really since that happened years ago.
With Pettis and Henderson.
With Pettis and Henderson, because it's almost like there are times that it feels like a fighter looks at the cage, at the rungs on the cage, and the ref goes, "Hey, don't you do it!"
Well, it's something that is very unorthodox that you don't expect to see, and that's why it works so well for Pettis. I'm surprised that he didn't knock Henderson out with that when he threw it the first time.
Yeah.
But it was something that, as a fighter, you try being very creative with your striking. If you can get an advantage on your opponent to do that, by all means, because it was completely legal. It's just very, very tough to do and very tough to connect. But Pereira was trying a lot of different looks, but unfortunately the one that caught him was late in the third round.
Yeah.
And otherwise he would have had this 30-27, in my opinion. There was no chance of this going the other way. So we get to the main event. Now, why we say this is very important, this had light heavyweight title contendership implications all over this. In the crowd was current reigning, defending, undisputed light heavyweight champion Jon Jones.
Which is rare.
Well, it's rare, but it was in the backyard of Greg Jackson's camp.
That's true. You know what? I forgot about that.
By Albuquerque. So he was there. He was saying he was doing meet and greets with fans in between fights, which I thought was a very cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But Jon was waiting to see who was coming out of this one. Now, you had Corey Anderson, who was on a heck of a fight streak coming into this, and he was facing Jan Blachowicz, because I apologize. I guess I've been saying it wrong for a couple weeks now. But Blachowicz has been coming in on a fight streak of his own. So this one was almost a title or contender eliminator, so to speak. And this one, Pat, how did this go?
So this one went, Jan Blachowicz defeated Corey Anderson via knockout punch, not Big Show knockout punch, in the first round, 3 minutes and 8 seconds in.
Yeah, very impressive performance by Blachowicz. He caught him with a right and just dropped him. It was just a straight knockout. And right after the fight, Blachowicz went right over to John and was pointing.
Wasn't even right after the fight. It was like, fight got over. Instant second went over and like, hey, you and me, let's go.
Well, it's a smart move to do because John now has to figure out who is next. Mm-hmm. And this one took Anderson off the board. I know Anderson was very, very much trying to push for this fight to happen with John.
Right, and I mean, you look at his record, as it stands right now, 14 and then 4 now. 14 and 5, had defeated folks the likes of Johnny Walker, Ilir Latifi, Glover Teixeira, Patrick Cummins, Tom Lawler. Had losses against Ovint St. Peru, Jimmy Manoa, and Mauricio Hua. So definitely beaten some names and lost to some names. So for me, it was always a bit of a stretch thing. Oh yeah, he should be the next guy to take on Jon Jones. Like, okay, you beat Johnny Walker, cool. He's up and coming, little green, I'd say. You beat Ilir Latifi, right? That's a notch in your cap. Glover Teixeira on the backside, downward slide in his career, not exactly a feather in your cap on that one. So for me, it was always a stretch when people are saying, "Oh yeah, no, Corey Anderson's the next guy to take on John."
Well, he did the smart thing, which a lot of fighters do. Let me get on Twitter. Let me go make some noise that goes viral.
That's the new thing.
It's the new thing, and I don't knock him to do it. I guess I would just say if you win in the cage, you'll get your fight sooner than later.
I long for the days when I forget which Diaz brother it was. It was one of the Diaz boys when it was a UFC on Fox card that dropped F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb, and it was like a 2-minute silenced sound.
That would be Nate.
Okay, that was Nate. Yeah, that was great. Look up that clip.
Yeah, Nate in a post-fighter because he was calling him McGregor.
Okay, yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Joe Rogan went, "You can't say that. We're on live public television."
Right, which it got him his fight eventually.
I long for those days. Those days were great.
Well, anytime the Diaz brothers get on the mic, it's always
gold.
It's always gold for sound bites. But going to this fight, though, John was very eager to jump on top of the seats he was in, and he kind of had the moment with Blachowicz there. So the question now becomes, who's next?
Well, I think we know who's next.
Oh?
I think it's Jan Blachowicz. I mean, you look at him, he's beaten Corey Anderson, Jacare Souza, Luke Rockhold, Nikita Krylov, Jimmy Manoa, just to name a few.
He's beaten a lot of names. I don't dispute that, but then what do you do with Dominic Reyes? See, this is the question the UFC has to answer.
Well, I think this also kind of holds to what's this medical status of Reyes. Is he medically suspended? Is he good to go? Like, that's kind of where we're at.
I know that Blachowicz was on the Ariel Helwani show. Mm-hmm. And there was a prospect that was kind of thrown out there because Blachowicz is said that he will not take a fight with Dominic Reyes. He was only going to take a fight with Jon Jones. He will wait for his title shot, which it has pluses and minuses, which I'll get to in a sec. But he also said on there, it came up in discussion, rather, that, okay, if Blachowicz fights Jones, Dominic Reyes should fight Thiago Santos.
Okay.
And the winner of that gets the winner of the Jones fight.
Ooh, okay. Did some digging. According to MMAJunkie.com, which is a page, one of the subsites off of USA Today, back on the 11th of February, this is from our author is Nolan King, quote, Jon Jones and Dominic Reyes battled for 5 rounds at UFC 247, but it seems they've come out relatively unscathed. The pair of headliners each received a 31-day suspension, according to a Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation document obtained Tuesday. So Dominic Reyes, none the worse for wear, got to sit out a month, but ready to go.
I'll be ready to go. So the only question now is, like we said, who do you bump in there? Do you go with Blachowicz to fight him, or do you go Reyes? Now, if I am John, I am taking Blachowicz.
Yeah.
I think that Blachowicz is the contender you want. Reyes did enough that you can make the argument for the fight. Mm-hmm. But the question is, do you want to have an immediate rematch against the guy that took you to the limit right now, or do you want to get one more fight to see some tape and really have a game plan for him?
I go with the second one.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense on that aspect. Plus, we discussed on the show many times before, very rarely does the UFC do back-to-back rematches, like immediate rematches.
Yeah.
Certain fighters have warranted that. Anderson Silva, when he was finally defeated by Chris Weidman, that made sense because Silva had been so dominant with his belt. The Frankie Edgar Gray Maynard series comes to mind. And I believe that there was a immediate rematch with Benson Henderson as well, too. That those kind of fights, or no, Henderson I think was pushing for that, but Frankie has had the trilogy fight with Gray Maynard and kind of log jammed up the division, and that's why you don't see that often.
Yeah.
So this one, I don't know. I guess I would kind of say Blachowicz makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah.
And then with Reyes, I love the idea against Diego Santos, because the question would become, Santos did push Jon to the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shouldn't he get an immediate rematch against Jon when he's healthy?
Yeah.
And if you're the UFC, what makes the most sense? I love the idea of a contender eliminator match.
No, yeah, I like that idea. You put Jon against Blachowicz, winner take all. In the meantime, in between time, you have Reyes versus Santos. Depending on how that goes, like, no matter who wins, you get the champion next.
Yeah, that's what I think they should do, because still there is option C that we haven't discussed. Stipe Miocic.
Yeah.
And would Jon move up to heavyweight to fight him? I think right now Jon doesn't need to.
No.
I think that there is now suddenly, which as a fight fan I'm happy to see, the light heavyweight contendership is actually back being relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You have fighters in there that can test the champ.
Yeah.
And that's what you want in any good weight class.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody that's so dominant that people lose interest in seeing. And it's nothing against the fighters that are in there, but when you have a champion that's so dominant, and like I say, Anderson Silva is probably the closest we've had until Jon Jones right now.
Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse too.
Mighty Mouse ran that division for a decade.
Yeah, and he's still killing it over in one championship. I still argue that was one of the biggest mistakes of the UFC.
I'll say the UFC traded away a 10-year champion and got a 6-month fighter.
They got a 6-month fighter who was great for sound bites, and Askren
took one knee and left.
Well, there was nothing. No, he came back and he did have that match with Damian Maia.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But a lot of people forget about it, and it's just at that stage, Askren was already on the back end of the career, so there's nothing really to write home about at that stage. And meanwhile, Mighty Mouse is pound for pound one of the best fighters on the planet. He just fights at a small weight class, which doesn't help him out much, but it does enough when you have a talented division. The UFC just never had that for him in flyweight, because you can only fight Joseph Benavidez and John Dodson so many times.
Yeah.
That is really not going to wind up doing anything for you. So that being said, the fight they should make is Blachowicz versus Jon. I don't know when they're going to do it. I would imagine that they'll want to get that done sooner than later. But until they get that done, Jon still has his options. I'm not saying we won't see another fighter maybe make some noise to get in the talk of it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it depends on how soon Diego Santos can come back. He's going to be a major factor in that division.
Yeah.
And him against Reyes, I love that idea. Not saying that Reyes doesn't deserve the immediate rematch, but when you start doing immediate rematches, you logjam your division. If you're supposed to be the champ, you should be able to beat everybody in your division at any given moment. So what's a matter of 3 months to 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Time is a wonderful thing when you got the champion that can sit there and just take on all comers. It just depends on what you want to do with it. So that being said, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts about the UFC's light heavyweight division? Where do you think it's going, and where do you think Jon Jones is going to wind up next against Stipe Miocic, Dominic Reyes, or Jan Blachowicz? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hello there. Do you like movies but feel overwhelmed by the avalanche of titles available every week in the theaters and on streaming services? Do you struggle with justifying the increasing cost of movies at the theater, or whether to pick up another streaming service? Well, I have a resource for you. One Movie Punch. Your movie review podcast for currently playing, newly streaming classic and cult movies. One movie per day, every day. We track the theaters, streaming services, and the occasional physical release to find the best movies currently available. We watch every film, then distill it into a short 3 to 5 minute review and publish a daily podcast. And now with year 2, we've gone spoiler-free for all movies within the last 3 years and bringing on a team of reviewers with brand new perspectives and selections. Want more information? Head over to www.onemoviepunch.com to subscribe to the daily podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OneMoviePunch and Facebook at www.facebook.com/OneMoviePunch. We'll see you there.
Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for the third segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and let's talk some wrestling. Time to run the ropes and do our wrestling recap. And there was a big card this past Sunday, NXT Takeover Portland.
Possibly the best ever?
Possibly. This definitely had a lot going on. It was definitely crazy. Pad, why don't you break it down for us?
So to lead off the card, because they didn't, unlike regular WWE pay-per-views, there are no pre-show matches. I think it was only, maybe a half hour pre-show before they kicked off right into the main show.
Half hour pre-show, and then Poppy was singing, right?
Yep, Poppy opened the show. She sang the theme for NXT TakeOver Portland, but that led right into the NXT North American Championship match between Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic, where Keith Lee defended his belt and defeated Dominik Dijakovic in possibly one of the best matches I've seen of all time.
That was absolutely mind-blowing.
That was insane.
Crazy that match was.
That was insane.
Trying to put that into words, Keith Lee is just a phenom walking. Donovan Dijak, because I hate saying Dijakovic because I know him from the indie days, and that's how I'm used to saying it. Absolutely. Those two could not put on a bad match if they tried. They stole the show and had the match of the night to lead off the show, which is damn near impossible to do. But to see how these guys can move around the ring, and Keith Lee, like I say, is limitless for a reason, and just how they were flying over the top rope, and then Dijakovic doing the leap.
Yeah.
Of all leaps, doing a somersault into the announce table area.
I'd say 6'7" plus inches tall.
Yeah, I mean, both these gentlemen are almost 7 feet. And, I mean, Lee is
300 pounds.
Easy 300.
320, I think.
But moves around like a cruiserweight. And they're doing Spanish fly flips off the top rope and hitting their finishers.
Oh, so one of them, I think, at one point did a standing Hurricane Rana.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And this is just what you want to see to get the crowd into it. And, man, was the crowd livid. So they were, livid in the good sense. Like, they were just feeding off the energy.
Yeah.
The wrestlers came out, and like I said, they damn near stole the show. So you were figuring, okay, the next match was going to be a letdown in this area?
Yeah, because good luck following this up.
No. This one kept the train rolling. Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox in a street fight.
Didn't wait for the bell to ring.
No. I absolutely loved Dakota Kai's heel turn. I've been talking about this on Twitter at OD Parlay Hour. One of the best, if not the best. It rivals with Bayley over the past couple of years of just who they've turned heel and just let them go. And Nox comes out to do her entrance, and the Kai doesn't even wait. Attacks at the entryway, and they were laying in shots, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this was not anything for the weak of heart.
No.
That they were just literally doing all types of just barbaric action.
Like, let's just see how crazy we can get. And if they tell us to stop, we'll stop.
Right, which I do have to say, though, if I have to find one fault in with this match, and it's not a fault, but when Dakota Kai was on the outside of the ring and was put inside the trash can.
Yes.
And Nox did the somersault flip-in cannonball. Wouldn't that hurt Nox more than that would hurt Dakota?
One would think.
Yeah, that one was just like, all right, I don't necessarily know if that move would do as much damage as we're selling.
Yeah.
But they made up for it, and they just were going at it. I mean, just brutal chair shots, and just the storytelling in this match was excellent. And really sold the story because they're former best friends, and now they turned against each other. So definitely it was a good match, albeit, though, the ending kind of threw it off for me a little bit.
I mean, I can't take credit for this. Somebody said it on Twitter. I'm just borrowing from it. They had the run in, and somebody helped out Dakota. I forget who it was.
Raquel Gonzalez.
Thank you, Raquel Gonzalez. And they're like, oh my God, it's, so. Like, if you're going to do that in a match, save it for somebody who might be a little more of a household name. Because admittedly, I didn't watch the Mae Young Classic. Nothing against any of the women who were in it. I just didn't have time in my life to get around to watching it. I had no idea who the hell that was.
Yeah, that kind of definitely threw the crowd off for a loop because they didn't recognize her at first. So obviously you want somebody that comes to the ring, you want a big pop noise, that, oh my gosh, it's them. Didn't happen here. Nothing against Gonzalez because it just needs time to get her on television, get familiar with fans. So obviously it was a solid match. Definitely enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed the storytelling that Nox was trying to be conflicted about hurting her best friend, but went full tilt in some of those shots. The only thing that got very scary, too, is they did not break the tables when they're getting thrown through them.
No.
That is just absolutely painful to watch for anybody. male or female wrestler. So that being said, the next match of the night, Pad, what was your thoughts on this? Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor.
This might have been like I don't want to say worst match of the night because it wasn't a bad match, but if I'm ranking them from, worst to best, this might be at the bottom. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a bad match. There was nothing wrong with it. I have no complaints about it. Just if I'm, ranking them least favorite to favorite, this one might fall towards the bottom.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I honestly thought this was going to be match of the night, and I don't know if it was just so amped up from the previous two ones.
Yeah.
That this one just kind of came in, and this was my adrenaline dump match.
It absolutely was an adrenaline dump match because the match, according to ProFightDB.com, the match lasted 27 minutes and 22 seconds. And I do remember a lot of that was kind of like rest holds and slow stuff. Like, all right, we're letting the crowd come down off of this because we can't have them amped up and excited for 3 hours. But I love both of these guys. Both of these guys are great. I'm a huge Finn Balor guy. I think part of what the issue was with this match and why I think a lot of people might rank it towards the bottom of their rankings was I think a lot of hype got made up about this match between the two fighters, especially they had that, split screen interview with the two and he goes, Finn's like, oh, I'm going to beat you to whatever. And Johnny goes, that's a Finn Balor. Like, I think they were building it up to the point where I'm like, he's talking about demons and this and that. I'm like, are we going to see the demon for this?
Yeah, Finn Balor does wrestle, if that's such a thing, to describe it. He usually comes out in like body paint as a character. I mean, his days in New Japan Pro Wrestling, he was always coming out as awesome characters, and he has the demon persona that he does in WWE. And this one, you weren't sure what we were going to see out of him. And this, since he's been back in NXT, has been tearing it up. He's finally turned heel, which has been long overdue. And for Johnny Gargano, he's always been the quintessential good guy of NXT. It's just this match,
happy-go-lucky while simultaneously getting his head beaten in.
Yeah, but he's Mr. Takeover too. Like, he never has a bad Takeover match. And like, I can't stress enough, it wasn't a bad match. I just think at this stage, the previous two matches just really had everybody so amped up that when this came out, it just was the adrenaline dump moment that was like, okay, it's good, and I'm into it, but I'm not as into it as I think I would have been, which is very rare to say. But like I say, it was still a great match.
Yeah.
But I think it was probably my less favorite one on the card. I don't know why, but it just was.
Yeah.
So that being said, we had our first title defense of the night.
Well, second title defense of the night. Keith Lee defended his title
that's right.
of the NXT North American Championship. So this is the second.
I always forget they have the North American title.
Yep. So this was for the NXT Women's Championship between Rhea Ripley, who was the title holder, and Bianca Belair, the EST of NXT, as she likes to call herself, where Rhea Ripley retained and defeated Bianca Belair via pinfall.
Yeah, this definitely was a great match. Belair has definitely stepped her game up when it comes to takeovers. I know there was that whole Sam Roberts nonsense that, Belair doesn't belong on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Sam Roberts needs to just shut up about that.
Sam Roberts just needs to watch the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Belair can hang with anybody. She's that good. Arguably the best athlete on the entire WWE roster.
She's up there, yeah.
You can have that debate. So to see her get the spotlight and obviously get her second shot at the title was definitely a cool thing to see. Ripley is on top of her game right now. Could not be more on top of the NXT world. And then we finally had, after she had defeated Belair, Charlotte Flair runs in the ring and confirms what we have been talking about for a long time. After attacking Ripley, signed, sealed, delivered, WrestleMania 36, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley.
It should be absolute fire.
I'm so on board with this. I was dreading when Charlotte won the Royal Rumble that we were going to get...
I think there were a lot of people.
Well, yeah, because it just doesn't make sense. We were going to see her against Becky Lynch again, and we've already seen that. And then see her against Bayley, which, I mean, you do have Bayley as a heel now.
Right, but, like, you can go through the entire roster and, like, Randy Orton versus Sheamus comes to mind. How many times have we seen Randy Orton versus Sheamus? Do we really need to see Randy Orton versus Sheamus again?
Yeah.
No. The same can be said for, Charlotte versus any of her other four horsewomen counterparts. We've seen her versus Sasha more times than I have fingers on my two hands. And the same can be said for Becky and Bayley. Okay, yeah, Bayley's a heel, but Charlotte's faced her as a heel. Like, and Charlotte faced Becky just last year. And Sasha, who knows what Sasha's deal is, we haven't seen her in a couple of weeks, but it just feels like a wash, rinse, repeat scenario if you put her against Becky, Bayley, or Sasha. I think that's something you hold off for. I think that's something you maybe put on the back burner. I'd say at this point it'll have been a year by the time WrestleMania rolls around. I say you put it on hold for at least another year. Like, really let it simmer down and really let it kind of die down, because I feel like if at any point after WrestleMania this year you do Charlotte versus any of those women, Becky, Bayley, or Sasha, you're going to get a lot of folks, myself included, going, oh my God, we have to see this again.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It's just you have to switch it up after so long, and they've been the top tier of the women's division
for like 5 years.
Yeah, which, I mean, nothing against them. They are that good.
Yeah,
they deserve to be up there.
And they are legitimately some of the best on the roster.
Yeah, you just get to such a stage where it's like you have such a talented roster on NXT, and arguably it is the most talented women's division in all of pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. This is a debate we have with Rich on the wrestling show all the time, and you know what? I'm hard-pressed to argue with him that why not mix and match with the talent you have up there? Rhea Ripley's on top of her game right now. Shayna Baszler is probably the best wrestler that isn't officially on Raw right now that's in the WWE system. Why not have her step up and fight Becky Lynch, which they're leaning to do finally, albeit how they introed her was a whole other story, but I digress. You have talent down there that is willing to come up and really make a statement. So this one, I'm excited to see what Ripley's going to do at Mania. In fact, I'm even going to go on a bold prediction. She retains.
Okay.
I'll say that right now.
That'd be something to beat a Flair at WrestleMania.
I know it's going to be crazy.
That's got to be a short list.
It'll be.
If somebody knows that or has the time to look that up, tweet us at OD Parlay Hour.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to have that conversation because I know. Well, Rick has been on some WrestleManias. Yeah, I don't know his track record, but Charlotte's near unbeatable at WrestleMania. I know she lost to Becky last year in that three-way, but that's different apples and oranges right there. So going on to another title defense.
Mm-hmm. You had the Broserweights, who were the winners of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, take on the NXT Tag Team Champions in Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era, where, surprisingly, you had the Broserweights defeat the Undisputed Era. Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne are now NXT Tag Team Champions.
Didn't see this one coming.
Neither did I.
Did not see this one coming at all. I mean, when the Dusty Rhodes Classic gets announced, you'll see two singles wrestlers get paired in a tag team. Mm-hmm. It always happens. I mean, we had, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe the one year, and they usually kind of mix and match it with different competitors along with the tag teams. Except this year, I will say the influx from NXT UK with the Grizzled Young Veterans and Imperium really added something to that tournament this year. Mm-hmm. In fact, I thought Grizzled Young Vets were going to win the thing. But it turned out to be the unlikely pairing of super serious Pete Dunne and, Matt Riddle. And to see the comedic interaction between those two.
If WWE isn't selling the shirt that Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne were wearing last night, I'm going to be very disappointed. I'm going to look it up now.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Vinny, who was actually tweeting me about this. And just honestly, how to describe that shirt.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's epic. It's everything that is Matt Riddle and then some. And it just goes along of how much fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish. It's just that's Matt Riddle for a letter, and obviously they have.
Oh my God, they're selling it.
Oh, they are.
It's available on the WWE's shop site.
Yeah, this was an incredible match.
It reads as quote, "How much fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish?"
That thing's going to sell thousands. It's going to be ridiculous. But for the match itself, it was absolutely what it was billed to be.
Yeah.
The Undisputed Era has been champs for so long; they are the best tag team in NXT. Kyle O'Reilly coming out doing air guitar with the title belt is why he should be a champion 24/7. If he has to be the 24/7 champion to make this happen, I'm all right with this. And just a very back and forth match, and definitely was a surprise ending with Dunne pulling the win off.
Yeah.
And I did not see this happen.
No, I mean, because oftentimes you see, like you said, these two singles wrestlers paired together, and it works out maybe for a round or two or for a couple matches, but then it ultimately falls apart because you have two folks who haven't really interacted together and don't really know anything about each other, and it falls apart. Obviously one exception can be made is the Bar with Cesaro and Sheamus, a couple of years ago when they got paired together and how well they ran together. But I'm interested to see where they can go with this. I mean, Pete Dunne, You really don't need to do any booking for him. Like, he's already self-booked with, his reign with the NXT UK Championship and just how hard-hitting he can be. Matt Riddle, I think it's a very interesting pairing to put him with, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I think it's two very different personalities that on paper you look at and go, that really shouldn't work together, but at least for one night it is.
Riddle can work with so many different people. I know he has great interaction with Keith Lee, and
he has great interactions with Brock Lesnar.
Those are always Twitter gold. And then
Goldberg as well.
And then possibly Jeff Cobb too, which I know that's going to be a story that we're going to be talking about on the wrestling show on the 3FN network. Because Jeff Cobb is still
a free agent.
Still a free agent, as he says. And I think if WWE could pull him off.
Jeff Cobb versus Keith Lee.
Oh, my God. Take my money now. Take my money now.
Iron Man match, 30 minutes.
Riddle.
Iron Man match, hour.
Whatever, you just take my money. I'm there first night. I'm there opening day. But for this match, though, like I say, sky's the limit where they're going to go with the tag team division. I was going to have a sinking suspicion the Undisputed Era was going to get a call-up.
I think they will, but not until after Mania.
But no, because obviously going into the main event, which is your champion, Adam Cole.
Baby.
Against the returning Tommaso Ciampa.
Who's looking for Goldie.
The storyline has been built. Ciampa had to relinquish the belt due to a very, very bad neck injury.
Almost career-ending.
And to see him come back in the shape he is, it was truly remarkable. They've set up the storyline perfect.
Yeah.
That he is now gone out of his way to really let Adam Cole know that his time is running. And the back and forth with this is just how you want to see the fight get built. Started a little slow, but they really got going, really got their timing down. You've seen a lot of innovative offense, albeit, though, a lot of craziness outside of the ring.
Yeah.
I think the one power bomb onto the table I thought came down right on Tommaso's neck.
Yeah, replay showed it was his shoulder blade area, so lucky.
Yeah, lucky. But it was damn near scary. And just seeing the different Panama surprises that were getting thrown, and then just the different stuff that you were seeing in the matches, too. It was absolutely crazy just to see that Ciampa was coming back and obviously looking in great condition because this was going to be a real test for him.
Yeah.
Adam Cole doing everything that Adam Cole does best.
So they were both throwing their finishers and signature moves like 9 times.
Yeah, you saw so many last shots.
I think Cole hit like 4 Panama Sunrises.
Yeah. Like it was like just really crazy with it, just how they were bouncing back with the air raid crash and the Panama surprise.
Yeah.
Like they just kept going back, and then when you thought that Ciampa was going to get the win, everybody in that crowd went nuts. Like they were fully locked into a match, and this is the beauty of pro wrestling. Their storytelling had everybody hooked, and everybody was on the edge of their seat. I mean, we had the watch party with Jimmy from Floodlands, and he does not watch that much NXT, but he was on the edge of his seat.
Yeah.
Like what is going on? Like just freaking out. And then when we finally get to the end of the match, the Undisputed Era comes in, causes interference on the ref after Ciampa has the match locked up.
And Ciampa is successfully fending them off before the ref gets knocked out, and then the ref gets knocked out.
Yeah. But by the time it's all said and done, Johnny Gargano comes out, team partner.
Wearing a DIY t-shirt, if I remember right?
Yes, wearing the DIY new t-shirt. And he takes the belt from Ciampa. Ciampa's looking at him going, what are you doing? And Gargano hits him with the belt. Leaving it in for Adam Cole to make the pin. So now we end with the start of Gargano, Ciampa again, question mark.
Part 4.
I guess this is the only way I see this one playing out.
Yeah?
I don't think this is going to be a long feud.
No.
It can't be.
No.
If you go through what makes NXT great, Ciampa Gargano was fight forever. They took the belt from Steen and Owens.
Gargano
Steen and Zayn, rather.
Gargano Ciampa was like must-see TV because just the way it was written.
Yeah.
And the way it was presented, even for, I would say, for seasoned vets who have watched wrestling for decades, had you guessing.
Yeah, it definitely had you guessing. And what I think they're doing now at Mania, and I'm fully convinced of this, is you're going to have the NXT title defended at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And I think what you're going to have is a 3-way for the belt.
Wasn't that planned last year, but then Ciampa got hurt?
I think it was heavily rumored. We weren't sure, but now it's set in stone, in my opinion.
Right.
You're going to have Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. Baby.
Like, can you imagine if that opens WrestleMania?
If that opens, that card had better stand up and deliver, because that'll steal the show.
Uh-huh.
That will steal the show. But would they do it against NXT TakeOver? I mean, there's so many possibilities that we don't know yet. Like I say, just have a feeling if the women's title is going to get defended on WrestleMania, I'm not doubting the men's, and that is your match to make.
I would say this. I think the NXT Championship is going to get defended in WrestleMania, because I think for the folks that might be a little hesitant to watch NXT because, I don't know these guys. These guys aren't really guys I know. I watch AEW because I know those guys, or whatever the reason is. This is an opportunity because WrestleMania, probably, if not, is their most watched pay-per-view every year. This is going to get the casuals who have cable and don't really watch it because, hey, I'm casual, I just watch it a couple times a year. Or the folks that might not watch NXT because it's just really not my cup of tea. Put on this fire match that it's going to be, 9 stars from Dave Meltzer, whatever it ends up being. Match of the year, match of the night, whatever, and really open up the eyes to the folks that for whatever reason, one reason or another, haven't watched NXT yet and go, this is what you're missing.
It's going to be a fun night, definitely. WrestleMania weekend is going to be absolutely off the chains. And this card, though, definitely delivered. I mean, between this and the Worlds Collide, NXT has been dominating the pay-per-view game. I know we're 2 months in, but they've had 2 of the best cards of the year.
Yeah.
I know AEW Revolution is coming up. They have very tall shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Can they do it is anybody's guess. But even so, the main roster has Elimination Chamber coming up. I don't think they're going to top this.
That's going to be hard, if not impossible.
It's going to be tough to call, but you're going to definitely have to stay tuned and see because, man, like I said, I could just ramble on about this, just how good this card was. But I definitely want to have that conversation with you. So hit us up on our social media accounts, and remember, use the hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts on NXT TakeOver Portland? Was it the card of the year, or do you think there's still some time to go? I mean, what could top this? I definitely want to have that interaction. And what do you think is going to be the NXT men's title at WrestleMania match? Try saying that 3 times fast. And also remember to check out me over on the 3 Fat Nerds, That Wrestling Show, which is going to be coming out this week. And we're also doing for the month of February, sharing it on the ODPH network. So if you want to find out everything that's going on there, head over to 8122productions.com. You can download it early, or we'll have it up this Friday on the ODPH network. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tyler from Second Suitor, and you're listening to the ODPH podcast. I want you to get it. I want you to understand. I'm doing the best I can, but not as good as I want to be. I just want to get it. I just want to comprehend that I have to make amends.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what's up with that local minute?
Oh, local minute, of course, we're talking some Binghamton Devils hockey news. Looking at their games from this past week, they lost their game on the 12th, up going against the Syracuse Crunch by the final score of 1-0. Friday, they came home on Valentine's Day and played the Hershey Bears, the first place Hershey Bears. I was in attendance with that game with my girlfriend for a little Valentine's Day fun. Of course, Hershey Bears first place in the Atlantic Division. 32 wins, 16 losses, with 3 overtime losses and 3 shootout losses. No slouches. Great game, hard fought game from your Binghamton Devils. It was 2-1 Hershey after the first period. Then it was 3-2 after the second period. So definitely fighting back, keeping it in it. Some questionable calls from the refereeing, but of course that's hockey for you.
Yeah, that's sports.
That's sports for you. And then Binghamton ended up tying the game up at 17 minutes and 42 seconds into the third period. So very late in the game. I think it was like 2.5 minutes left or something like that. Tied the game up and forced it into overtime, which it was like the 4th or 5th time I've been to a Devils game this year and it's gone to overtime. And I got to say, AHL overtime is the most nerve-wracking thing on the planet because after the period is over, you get 60 seconds. They don't even, wet the ice down or clean the ice up in between periods like you're used to. They get 60 seconds, and then it's 3-on-3 hockey for 5 minutes. It is a wild ride.
It's the beauty of hockey, though, because anytime it goes to overtime, it's always nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I don't, even with the shootouts, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the shootouts, but anytime you get playoff feel to hockey, and that's what overtime does feel like. So.
Yeah. And then overtime didn't last long. Binghamton scored the winning goal 30 seconds into overtime to get the win. So they won their game that day 4-3 in overtime. Then they traveled down to Hershey the next night and won by the final score of 4-2. And they actually just finished a game as we record. They went up to Toronto and played the Toronto Marlies, where they won by the final score of 5-2. So they got themselves a nice little 3-game winning streak going on. Looking at their schedule for this, the rest of this coming week, they've got another game in Toronto on Wednesday. Interestingly enough, this one is at 11 in the morning. Then they've got a home game. They return home on Friday, February 21st to play the Charlotte Checkers. Game time 7:05 p.m. Should note for any college students listening, it is $10 college student ticket night.
Ooh, can't beat that.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, February 22nd, they remain home and play the Charlotte Checkers again. Game time 7:05. And should note, this game is being billed as the Miracle 40th anniversary game. Of course, referring to the Miracle on Ice, where the U.S. Men's hockey team defeated the Soviets in the Olympics.
Yeah. Wow, it's been that long?
Yeah. 40 years, and they're going to have special jerseys for the night.
Always one of my favorite movies, too.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Of course, more information, binghamtondevils.com.
Now, since Coach isn't here, I'm going to be the one talking some Binghamton Bulldogs.
Ooh, okay.
And they have bounced back on the winning track. Huge game on the road against the Rock City Ravens. The Dogs wound up pulling the W out 131-121. And according to their Facebook page, it was a huge game from Derek Hart and huge second half performances from Chris Cartwright and Ralph Williams. So Hart wound up being the lead scorer for the Bulldogs, 36 points. Cartwright had 27. Williams had 19. And Binghamton scored 75 second half points.
Wow.
To come back. It's good to see him bounce back after
impressive.
that Syracuse massacre they had. It's the only way to put it lightly. I'm not showing any favoritism. That game was just straight up massacre. So it's good to see the Bulldogs get back on the winning track and definitely make that run into the Elite Eight tourney that's happening. So the Bulldogs are currently ranked number 12 with a record of 12-4 according to the ABA rankings. Wyoming Valley is still 16-0 at number 1, and Syracuse is still 15-2, and they are in the top 5. They're at number 5. So this weekend is a home game now for the Bulldogs. This was originally supposed to be played in Oneonta, but the game was shifted to Binghamton. So Saturday night at St. Pat's Gym locally, it is going to be the Bulldogs hosting the Oneonta Octane, and they are asking fans to wear white as they want to go for a whiteout. This is the revenge game against the Octane, who pulled off the upset early in the year. So there's going to be a lot of hype going on for this. More information, Facebook.com/Binghamton Bulldogs, because you get the most updated information on there. They're very active on there. Or just go to BinghamtonBulldogs.com. Either place is a good place to shop. And we have to say happy birthday wishes to friend of the show and our favorite wrestling promoter, Johnny Moose. So Johnny is having a birthday this week. He's a longtime listener and friend of the show. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
ExciteWrestling.com. And in fact, what would make his birthday if you bought a ticket to go to the X for this March 7th show. So all that information is on ExciteWrestling.com. So when you stop by, leave a message for him, happy birthday, and you can tell him you heard it on the ODPH. So let us round those bases, shall we, Pat?
Sure. I'll start off, and for once, I won't be talking baseball.
What?
All I'll say, baseball has started, pitchers have reported, position players have reported, which means if you're not a baseball fan, we're one step closer to spring and one step closer to summer, so warmer weather. No, I'm going to be talking of some college women's basketball.
Okay.
Because we have some potential history staring us in the face and bearing down on us as we sit here recording. If you were not familiar, there is a woman by the name of Sabrina Ionescu, who is a senior guard at the University of Oregon. She's from Walnut Creek, California. She just this past weekend became the second ever men's or women's Division I player to accumulate over 2,000 points scored and 1,000 assists. She is currently sitting at 980 total rebounds.
Wow.
And if she keeps at her current pace, at some point, I want to say it's either by the end of this week or early part next week, she will accumulate 1,000 rebounds and will become the first ever player, men's or women's, Division I, to score 2,000 points, accumulate 1,000 assists, and get 1,000 rebounds.
Incredible. That's awesome.
Which you think of some of the players who have come through the collegiate ranks.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Derrick Rose, like the list goes on, Candace Parker, and just some of the names of the folks men and women who have come through the collegiate ranks. None of them have ever done this.
This is incredible, especially because nowadays you have the one and dones. Mm-hmm. But to stay for 4 years and do the record and just how that's happening, kudos to her.
Yeah, no, I saw this on SportsCenter the other morning. I couldn't believe it.
No, that's amazing.
It's insane.
So hopefully she pulls that record off.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome to see. So for my bases, I guess I got to do a couple double duties since Coach is not here. So let me start off with some late-breaking MMA news.
Okay.
It's being reported by ESPN staff writer Mark Ramadi that One Championship is doing something with their King of the Jungle fight card February 28th in Singapore.
Okay.
They are not allowing fans to attend.
Holy cow, what?
They are not allowing fans to come in because they are fearful of the coronavirus that is currently infecting the world, so to speak.
Yeah, okay. You know what? That makes sense.
Yeah, so they're just saying that because it's been widespread across Asia and China and over in the Far East.
The world,
like I say, they're just being very careful. So what they are doing is they have announced that they will have the fight happen in an empty arena. And if you have bought a ticket for said event, you will be refunded your money in full, and it will still be broadcasted. So this is going to be a very weird fight experience.
I applaud them for this. You know, you definitely don't want to put your fans or the public in any sort of risk. And given how widespread the coronavirus is going on right now and how many people are infected and, you know, unfortunately how many people have passed from contracting the virus, I don't think anyone in that organization, from, you know, the head of the organization down to, you know, the mail carrier, you know, the guy in the mailroom, I don't think anyone wants it on their conscience that they might have contributed to this disease, this horrible disease, and this horrible situation. So I applaud them for taking this step in you know, preventing the fans from coming there and trying to do their little bit of trying to prevent the disease from spreading further. I will say this, I'm not one to normally watch One Championship, but I might have to find it and watch for 5 minutes just because outside of, you know, soccer matches overseas, I can't think of another instance where there has been an empty stadium or arena for a sporting event. And I've never had the chance to see it, and it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud them that they're doing this because according to the article that Ramadi has written, it's saying that there are 77 confirmed cases of the coronavirus
right
as of today, and 53 people are still in the hospital that have been diagnosed with it.
Right, and that's probably, and I'm guessing that's just in that area where they're going to hold the fight.
Yeah, that's what.
So, okay, that's just in that area. That's not factoring anyone who might be traveling in from other places around the country, around the world, and what have you. So that makes sense.
Yeah, worldwide, according to the article, there's 70,000 cases,
right,
with 1,700 deaths. So they're doing everything they can in precautions, and obviously, if they've had 77 cases in Singapore, that they're trying to be as cautious as they can for everybody involved.
Right.
So we're just saying, just everybody, please be as healthy as possible and take extra precautions. This is no joke, and one is going to be one to watch. I mean, no pun intended by it, but it's just
it's going to be possibly a once in a lifetime viewing event.
Yeah, it's just weird to see an empty arena that's going to have a fight card going on. So
yeah.
We'll have to wait and see about that. Flipping the corner to some XFL action. Nothing really to report except some very interesting quarterback comments, to say the least. And you can just search Matt McGloin
from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Interestingly,
yeah,
Penn State alumnus,
who had a lot to say about his team, and you can go through the searches on social media. Not the best look for the XFL in the second week.
No,
I understand that they're really pushing the sideline interviewing and such, but you do have players that are playing with emotion.
Yeah.
And probably not the best place to just vent the frustration they're having.
Yeah, I mean, you got if you go to a quarterback who just threw his, let's just say, third interception, whatever the situation is, they're going to be a little peeved, a little pissed off. So they might say some things that they regret, say some things they don't mean in the heat of the moment. So going up to a quarterback, Joe Schmo, whoever, and saying, "Oh, what was going through your mind before you threw that pass? Did you?" or whatever they're going to ask. Like, probably not. I get the understanding, and I applaud trying to be creative and be different from the NFL. But I feel like you should pick and choose your moments.
Yeah, this one was definitely not a good one, and obviously the XFL is trying to be different with all that sideline interviewing. Not the best look for an organization that's still trying to get their feet planted.
Yeah.
Because there's just moments.
Also not a good look, if you're a fan of, the team and you're really trying to get invested and you're really trying to get amped up for it. And your quarterback comes out and goes, "We don't know what the hell, what the bleep we're doing. We got to change our entire offensive game plan."
Yeah, when you bury your team on national television. It's not.
My advice is always go the Greg Popovich route. One-word answers.
Yep.
It's also comedy gold.
Yeah, or go Marshawn Lynch. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need to say.
Or the Bill Belichick method.
Yeah, because you can go through the whole articles if you want, if you just decide to search on social media. Other than that, I mean, the XFL really didn't have anything going on that caught me noteworthy this weekend. So I'm just going to kind of skip over that because, like I said, that was the only headline that came out. And if that's your only headline,
not a bad week.
It's a bad look for some aspects, but I guess no news or news isn't good news. You know, whatever you want to define it. But I want to close out the show talking some boxing.
Okay.
Because this weekend, the rematch of rematches is happening. And no, it's not Canelo and Triple G, because that's already been decided. Triple G won those 2 fights. You can't tell me otherwise.
Mayweather Pacquiao too.
No.
Mayweather McGregor too.
No.
Well, then I don't give a shit.
Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury.
Oh, yeah.
So Saturday night, February 22nd, 9 p.m., only on pay-per-view, and that's in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. These two are going to have the rematch of rematches. So this is where things are going to get very, very interesting. The first time they fought, it was a draw. On my scorecard, I had Wilder winning, and you saw him knock out Fury, and Fury wound up doing the Undertaker sit-up miraculously to come back in that fight.
Yeah.
Wilder 42-0 with 41 knockouts.
Oof.
That is not a typo. The Bronze Bomber is no joke. Tyson Fury 29-0-1 with 20 knockouts. So something's got to give here.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony Joshua is waiting in the wings. 23-1, 21 KOs in his record, with his big loss coming to the underdog of all underdogs, Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
Who is still going to be a name in that division too. So for me, if I got to make my unofficial ODPH prediction, Bronze Bomber is taking this one.
Okay.
Wilder is going to finish the job. I like Fury. Don't get me wrong. I definitely like Tyson Fury. He's a character. He's been on WWE. He is a larger-than-life personality. But Wilder is a different cat. And Wilder has that one punch. He doesn't have to be the flashiest guy. He just has to go in there and connect at the right moment.
Well, and also Wilder has been, laser focused on this fight for quite some time. Whereas, like you said, Tyson Fury, he's been on WWE, he's been on all this other stuff. He was just at the Vegas Golden Knights game the other night. His attention's been a little all over the place.
Yeah. So Wilder is going to come in there, and I think he's going to oppose as well. Am I saying it's going to be a first round knockout? Hell no. I think this one could go the distance, but I think that this one is going to get ended, I'm going to say 10th round. And I think Fury is going to be on the losing end of a right that is going to just send shivers down your spine. Wilder will eventually fight Joshua and run through him too. Joshua does not scare me in any way, shape, or form as a fighter. I'm just sorry. I'm not impressed with his skills, and I know he has a big, he has the look of it, but I just don't see it. And like I said, the Ruiz knockout, I think, showed out a lot that there's holes in his game. There's just a lot to be desired from Joshua. If he really wants to step up, he's got to really show me something. I think, though, for boxing fans, you want to see Wilder face Joshua. And like I said, Wilder is just no joke. He is going to knock somebody out. And just say, go through his track record. He goes and tears apart opponents. He is just one mission, and that is to just knock everybody out and leave them down.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, that's going to be going on Saturday night. Definitely join in that conversation on social media and hit us up on OD Parlay Hour on Twitter, because I'm going to be tweeting as much as I can during the fight. I'm going to see what I can do. I got some other stuff going on, so I'll definitely want to try catching that fight this weekend. So that being said, the music you heard on this episode is that of Fair City Fire. They're our friends from Austin, Texas. They just got done playing a big Valentine's Day gig down in Austin, Texas. So if you want to find out about them, you head on over to ochoduroparlayhour.com/music. Check out their social media links. Check out their Bandcamp. Go support them in any way, shape you can, along with the fellow bands that are on that page, which you have Shout Out the Robots, who's playing a big show this Saturday night at Galaxy Brewing. You have Floodlands, who has just announced a bunch of tour dates coming up in April. And they have a big show coming with First Jason coming back to town in May at Galaxy. You also have Honker, Walking Distance. You have so much great music. Second Suitor is on there as well, who is currently on tour with Tom Jolu. Like I said, they tore it up in the 607 on Friday night. They're heading down south now to Georgia and Florida. So they're definitely going to make some moves. So if you're down there, Go to ochodoropolyhour.com/music. Check out Second Suitor. Check out if they're going to be playing at your town, and definitely make plans to attend. Also on ochodoropolyhour.com, you can check out Parlay Points, the commentary blogs to the ODPH podcast and the ODPH directory, which has links to Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming, Excite Wrestling, photography by Mike Blakesley, 3 Fat Nerds. Shout out to Rich, Ron, and hashtag Big Natty Cool Diesel. You can also check out Horizon 607. The links are on there as well. You can go to 8122productions.com. Check out their Patreon, which, Pad, more Love is Scary is coming out.
Oh, Lord.
So I have to pitch an idea for Patreon, though. I want Ron behind the paywall talking about John Wick.
Oh, Christ.
I am throwing that out there.
How about behind the wall talking about The Room?
If you have ever heard Ron's review of John Wick and his passionate feelings about that movie, that needs to be behind a paywall. Maybe we could get Ron to do some Patreon behind there. That would be something. I would like to see his review of The Room. He is an avid moviegoer, so he will definitely have some reviews about that. But right now is John Wick, and what else he's got in mind, too. You'll have to just check out 3 Fat Nerds and see what he's talking about. But you can also head over to 8122productions.com, find out about everything they have going on their Patreon, including Love is Scary, the hottest show on Patreon that I can't talk about. So much going on the ODPH website. Shout out to hashtag 607podcast. Shout out to hashtag Podnation, and shout out to hashtag NextWave, because that's all we got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you, and John Calipari still coaching Kentucky.
For your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Wishing Charlie Weiss was coaching Notre Dame.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.